Hey everybody, welcome to Around Cranberry Township once again. I am your host, Dr. Bulow with Revive Upper Cervical Chiropractic, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Elizabeth Echeverria.
Very good.
Close, pretty good, right there. With Living in Liberty, right?
Yes.
So I'm trying to think if we first met in our church, if we first met around here, how did we meet?
It was at church.
Was it at church?
We were playing with my husband.
That's right. Her husband is a drummer, and those of you who don't know, I play a little guitar. But that was when we first met, and then we got to know each other professionally and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I come to find out that Elizabeth runs just this phenomenal organization, Living in Liberty. But maybe you could introduce yourself, Elizabeth, and personally, but also professionally, however you'd like to, and just the nutshell, and then we'll dive a little deeper.
Well, as you said, my name's Elizabeth Echeverria, and I'm the founder of Living in Liberty, a nonprofit here in Pittsburgh that helps women transition out of a life of sex trafficking, and we do that by operating a safe home where they can come stay with us for a year to a year and a half. We also do street outreach. We go out into the street and connect with the women, and we host a drop-in center in 5 different areas in the city: Homewood, Northside, McKeesport, Butler, and now in the Strip District. We've just started going out there. And we also have 2 stores, repurposed for kids, which helps fund the work that we do. And we also have an awareness and prevention team that goes around and speaks to anybody that we'll invite. We especially love to get into schools where we can help do some prevention and keep young girls from getting caught up in sex trafficking.
Wow. That is a lot there. You do a whole lot of stuff there with Living in Liberty. So let's unpack it a little bit, because I'm curious. It seems like you're doing a lot of good in a lot of different ways. So let's maybe break it down chronologically. Like, how did this first get started for you?
So I am originally from the D.C. metro area. We moved here in 2008, and when I was living in Virginia, I was the women's ministry leader in our church. And I was looking for a speaker for a retreat I was planning, and I wasn't having much success. And so one of the women in my church came up and said, "Oh, my mom happens to be home from the mission field. She'd love to come speak to our women." And so I loved this woman. I thought her mom probably had to be awesome too.
That's right. Yep.
So she came and she spoke to us for 2 days about work that she does in Calcutta, India, with a ministry called Project Rescue. And if you know anything about India, they have the caste system there, and these children that were born to these women that were being prostituted or trafficked in India were often in the room under the bed in the corner when these women were working. Yeah. And so as I heard this, I tried to convince Carlos to move to India. He would not.
That would be quite the dedication level. My word, yeah.
But back then, still the prevalent thought was that it was something that happened more abroad. It wasn't as much something that happened here.
Well, I was shocked when we first met. I was like, Pittsburgh? You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
That's unbelievable.
Yes. And we still get that, but because of a lot of the awareness and prevention that's been done, more and more people realize that it's happening everywhere and not just abroad.
So you started this to raise awareness, obviously, but then provide a resource for... what are these girls? Are these young adults? Are these,
So the average age of entry is 12 to 13, and it's usually done through what's called boyfriending, where an older young man in his 20s, mid-20s, early 20s will approach this 12 or 13-year-old young girl and start lavishing her with gifts, taking her out, getting her hair and her nails done, buying designer purses, nice clothes. And then he'll turn around and say, to continue this lifestyle, I need you to do this for me. And this is probably the first love interest that she's had. She's probably maybe in the foster care system or from a home where she's not getting the attention. Or just, think of the nature of youth.
Yeah.
A lot of young kids are disgruntled with their parents or not, feeling, and so this person comes in at the right time saying...
And so they're not being necessarily kidnapped, they're being manipulated mentally and convinced that this is all normal and okay and that sort of thing. Wow.
Well, in 12 or 13,
I don't know which is darker, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, that's crazy.
And there are those that are, I don't want to say that abduction is not a part of it, but that's the extreme, and then there are the women, and I always use the 2 movies if you've heard of Pretty Women, the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah,
where she
sure
is deciding on her own to prostitute herself. And then Taken. Have you seen the movie Taken?
Yes. Yeah.
And
so that's the range.
Right. And more people have that image in their mind that Taken is.
Got it. Yeah.
But it usually falls somewhere in the middle.
Wow. So you've been doing this in Pittsburgh now for how long?
So I founded Living in Liberty in 2012.
Got it.
And it springboarded off of a safe home, because I went around and asked. And there were no aftercare services for women here in Pittsburgh that wanted to get out of.
Define aftercare.
So meaning a place where they can come stay and be supported, typically through a safe home. But other services, you need a lot of wraparound services around these women. They need counseling for all the trauma that they've experienced. Most of these young girls were probably sexually abused as children, which made them more vulnerable to being trafficked.
Wow, yeah.
And then just think of all the trauma that they've experienced while they're being trafficked.
Yeah.
Forced to basically be raped 10 to 40 times a night.
Are you serious?
My gosh. With a quota. It's different for each one.
Wow.
And 40 is probably, on the high end.
That's ridiculous. Any amount is terrible. And what's crazy, I remember when you were telling me about this, is I have 3 girls. And it's just like, I can't, just so dark, so crazy.
It is.
So now, lightening it up maybe a little bit, the other services on top of you guys to help fund this is, because I know you have an event coming up that we'll talk about.
Yes.
But you also have the 2 places, what were the consignment stores?
So they're not consignment stores, they're resale shops. It's called Repurposed and Repurposed for Kids. One's down on McKnight Road. It's a 10,000 square foot store that sells everything: men's, women's, children's clothing, shoes, housewares, books, furniture. Gotcha. So we sell.
And where is that on McKnight exactly?
It's right next to the Taj Mahal restaurant, if you know where that is.
Yeah. Kind of on the southern side of McKnight, right?
Yes, right past Northway Mall, about a half mile down on the same side.
Oh, cool. Yeah, very good. And it's called Repurposed?
And it's called Repurposed. And then we have Repurposed for Kids, which is the second store, and that's down on East Ohio in the north side.
Oh, okay.
Right next to Women's Choice, or where James intersects East Ohio.
Got it.
We're right there.
I remember Ohio Street when I was a kid. We helped somebody move in down there who's actually a minister, and he totally redid one of these old homes, and just gorgeous. But those the few block of time in my life that I spent a lot of time in the north side, but it's been a while since then. So tell us about the event you have coming up.
So, we're always looking to raise funds for what we do. It takes a lot of money. In fact, we're in May of next year, we're planning to open a new home down in the Pittsburgh area. Right. And so this is what we're raising funds for.
How many homes do you have now?
We have 1 home that can house 3 women. We intentionally make them small because we think creating a family environment where you can really pour love on them and lavish them and just encourage them and provide them with the resources that they need is important. Yeah. So we feel this second home is going to meet some of the things that the current home is not meeting. One of the challenges is we have them come in. We require them to be 90 days clean before they can come. Often these women have addictions as part of being in the life. And the current home will require 90 days clean. It's also more rural, so we have to drive them everywhere they go. And so having something down in the city where they have access to bus routes. And so I have 2 women that are really championing this. One woman came out of the life. She's 20 years clean and has been doing really well. And she's very passionate about another young lady who came out of foster care and so has experienced some of it from a different angle, have joined together and are really championing this project. So it'll help. We won't be having that same 90-day clean, and it'll make it a little bit easier. It'll have a little different structure.
Sure. So when and where is the event? How can people
get
involved?
Salsa event is we need to raise
salsa event.
Yes, it's a salsa night. So for those
this is where Carlos comes in, I think.
My original plan was he used to teach ballroom dancing.
That's what he did tell me. He actually did teach. I just looked at him as a drummer, and he loves the music.
Right.
But he actually did teach ballroom dancing. That's great.
I used to have a nickname for him. I probably was.
off camera. I'll find out.
He used to take the older women to go down for competitions and things when he was like in his 20s.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
But we are going to have a woman named Rachel Booth and her partner Vince who teach salsa dancing. So it's going to be a night where if you don't know how to salsa dance, come out and learn. It'll be a fun evening. We're going to also have a wine pool, opportunities to learn more about what we do and just have fun. It's about a night of fun and celebrating. And
so when and where?
So we're supporting 2 new businesses through this.
Cool.
Just in Time, which is a new caterer and events based in Gibsonia.
Okay.
And we're also supporting Appleseed Events. She's helping me plan this.
So Appleseed Events is an event planner, and then Just in Time is an event location. That's where it's going to be.
Yes.
And Just in Time is, you were telling me this before, it's right off the turnpike on Route 8, right?
It is. At 5316 William Flynn Highway.
Got it. And where? Now this is a flyer.
Yes.
But I'm sure we can also. I'll put this. I'm sure this is digital somehow, so I can put it on the page.
Absolutely.
I'll put this on the page, and we'll probably link it up to your Facebook page. When is it again? November 10th?
So it's November 10th from 7 to 10. You can get tickets online either through Living in Liberty's Facebook page or going to our web page. There's a place to register on there.
Got it. Fantastic. Let's see. That's good. How else can people, before we lighten it up even more and close it down, how else can people get involved and give back and kind of be a part of, just a part of the Living in Liberty kind of mission,
Well, there's all kinds of ways, different ways. I mean, people can bring things down to the store. So, as just as you're cleaning out your stuff,
sure.
whether it be clothes, housewares, furniture, bring it down to the McKnight store and drop it off, or children's clothes. We are always looking for volunteers, and volunteering can look different.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what does that look like? Yeah.
So we always need, in the store, we need volunteers to come down and work in the store. We have volunteers that work in the home, so if people are interested in working more directly with the women that we serve, there are opportunities there. And street outreach, going out into the streets, so we go down to the Homewood, McKeesport, North Side, up in Butler. We just started up in Butler.
Wow, yeah.
And in the Strip District, we need people to go out and prayer walk and actually connect with the women and work in our drop-in center where we give them food, clothing, and they have an opportunity to get a shower, do their laundry.
Wow.
It's really a place where we build a relationship and just love on these women. We're present with them. We're not trying to change, have them make a decision at that point.
Gotcha.
And then we also, if people like to speak, they can go help us in going around speaking and raising awareness and prevention. But just thinking about anything that a nonprofit has to do business, I mean, whether it be marketing or communication or any of that, we need of all of those kinds of things. So if someone has a certain gifting or skill, and they say, well, I really don't want to go out in the streets, I don't want to work in the store, there's all different kinds of ways.
Yeah, that's a good point. Everyone's got their gifts, their talents, their ties, or their time, right? And so I'm sure it can be applied in any way. If this is something that hits you, and you say, this is something I want to be a part of, then definitely we encourage you to reach out to Elizabeth. And the name again was I love the name of Liberty, but it was the Women of Liberty, right? Or the
Living in Liberty.
Living in Liberty. I love that. I do. The idea of liberty is such a beautiful term, such a beautiful word. But that's awesome, Elizabeth. I think it's pretty phenomenal. I think it's crazy, scary to even think about something like that. I guess you hear about it in the news all the time, not particularly this issue, but any kind of a tragedy. You know what I mean? People always say, they never thought of it in my neighborhood or my town. And this is, something that you think, that's those third world countries, or not even third world. I'm not sure India where it classifies, but just that's somewhere else. You know what I mean? And it's not in the United States of America. It's certainly not in Pittsburgh, very relatively conservative, large city. But man, that's crazy. But thank goodness for people like yourself that are trying to do right by that community, I'm sure, trying to help out. But
my own daughter was approached by a trafficker.
Are you serious?
Yes.
My word. How old was she?
She was 19 when it happened. It was actually just last year.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness! And what in here? And
We were actually traveling across Pennsylvania. We were going up to visit my son, who's at school, and we were driving late at night. It was Carlos, Nicole, and I, and we were stopping at a gas station to get some gas and to go to the bathroom. And Nicole and I went to the restroom. I went in first. This man approached her and started talking her up and saying, "Oh, you're so beautiful. Have you ever thought of being a model? I think you make a great model," and really just chatted her up. When I came out, he ran off. I didn't see him. I didn't know that he was talking to her.
Yeah.
She then went in, and being that she's 19, I just went back to the car. I mean, I didn't feel like I needed to stand over her and wait. He then approached her again when she came out of the restroom, gave her a piece of paper with the name of a made-up modeling agency and a number on it, and said, "Call me quickly. I really think you'd make a great model." And they use burn phones, so that's why they want you to call them quickly, because
interesting.
they don't have the phone for very long.
Now, can you turn that in? I'm guessing what action can be taken there? I mean, so
I
people
did
like
turn
that,
it into.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I leave it up to the first responders, because we're not first responders. We're not going in and rescuing anybody out.
Yeah. That is crazy. That's like almost law of attraction kind of stuff that would happen to you.
Well, yeah.
That's crazy.
And my daughter and I went and did another Facebook Live presentation somewhere, and they asked her the question, if you'd been with your mom, would you have, because she came in the car and then she eventually told us and gave us the paper. She said, if you'd been with your friends, would you have, done this,
Oh, yeah. How many people have this happened to, and they don't really think to report it or say anything?
Or call the number. I mean, but think about 3 young girls together, and they're, I want to be a model, and, they're encouraging each other or whatever. Let's call,
Man,
she said it might have gone differently.
Yeah. That's, again, creepy, crazy. I mean, at that age, because you would think that's only impressionable, 13-year-olds or 12-year-olds, but even in high school and, 19, you're early college age.
Yes.
Depending on the background, some people are more susceptible, but even if someone is just ignorant to the issues or caught off guard, because again, in this town, you know what I mean? You wouldn't think that.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
that is wild.
It happens everywhere. I mean, that's why we want to go out. Education and prevention is so important, getting to those youth.
And speaking of that, and I usually forget to do this. I try and say it at the beginning of the videos. This is education, right? So share this video on different community page. I'm going to share it on one of the Around Cranberry and the Mars community pages. But please get this video out there, because, again, I've learned a million things just by chatting with you. And that's huge, just to have those conversations with your kids and young adults in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because just the average age is 12 to 13. It doesn't mean it doesn't go younger or older. That's just averages.
That's wild. Well, hopefully we will see you at the salsa night. Hopefully you guys can join us at the salsa night.
Yes, we'd love to have you join us.
And help support and have some fun. Seems like a great event.
Good food. There's going to be gourmet food. Just in time. So
that's awesome. Any last words, Elizabeth, for just the community, whether it relates to living in Liberty or anything else around Cranberry Township? I'll have you give the last word, and then we'll sign off for this episode here.
Well, I just want to thank you, Dr. Bulow, for giving this opportunity, and just appreciate what you do.
Absolutely. Oh, I'll happily end on that note. You're very welcome. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.